Right, 6 minutes past the top of the hour. Karibu sana. This is the Daily Report. Two very interesting things are happening tonight at this particular hour. First off, Manchester United versus Tottenham, and Man U is winning this. But then a very important conversation, particularly for one, you as an employer, two, you as a Gen Z, and also even for the Gen Alphas watching us tonight, though you should be sleeping right now. This conversation about the job market and the preparation for the Gen Zs getting into the job market. According to a report done in the United Kingdom as well as the USL, just start off with one done in the UK, done by an employment website called Indeed, shows that about 93% of Gen Zs said they ghosted their employers out of an interview. Get this as well, 87% said that they managed to charm their way through the interviews, had their old contracts, but then that day that they're supposed to report to work, they said, nope, I'm not coming to work, and they ghosted the employers. That's in UK. In US, according to research by NumberBan, shows that which had responses from the largest metropolitan areas in the USA, roughly 41% of Gen Z admitted to also ghosting their potential employers, while 37% of millennials say the same. So millennials are also in this whole mix, but then the Gen Zs are the largest. That's in UK, US. But then the question is this particular kind of a trend also creeping into Africa? And tonight we have the Gen Zs in the studio. We also have human resource practitioners just to tell us what is happening in this particular place. I'll introduce them. They'll be introducing themselves as we continue. We do have Scholar Othiambo. She is a career development practitioner. I do also have Joyce, who is here with us. She'll be telling us, her full name, Charles Ketoto. He's a HR practitioner, director at KET East Africa Consultants Limited. Felix Main as well, director, Blue Collar Technologies. John Mbusio, he's a youth leader at in Kitui. Victor Sankara, he's also a youth leader. And Sharon Ombui, student at Zitech University. And Joel Mumo, founder, Marsh Events Limited. Madam Othiambo, allow me to start with you on this. You can pass her the mic. You actually have a mic. You are, as a HR practitioner, you definitely talk with other HRs. Does this happen in Kenya, where someone could actually apply for a job and then on the day of reporting they say, nope, I'm not coming to work?
Thank you for the invite. It's actually getting more and more frequent.
Okay.
To a point not only of attending, reporting to work, but even attending the interviews. Some will even tell you that you need to reschedule that particular interview, either because they don't have that particular skill set, or because they don't understand why you're paying them those few shillings and from the onset. And this is like first impressions.
They don't understand the skill set.
They don't understand why you want them to do what you're asking them to do.
Okay.
So it's really getting frequent, and it's not very interesting, especially for around the HR space. It's actually an awakening call. And even for us as career development practitioners, because we get to show them mock interviews.
Yes.
So how we get to let them do the mock interviews is very different from what now they go and do them in real time. You can train them and take them through the course and take them through the training, but when they go to the marketplace, it's a total different breed. It's like water and oil. So the unpredictability is really frequent, and that baffles everyone, not only the HR practitioners, but even the employer himself or herself. And back to also what the Gen Zs are doing. This is lack of consistency, which I really blame them, and also at the same time I don't blame them, because they're born in an era where nothing is guaranteed. Okay. We never had TikTok before, now we have TikTok.
And we'll get to that, the whole impact of social media. Yes. I can see your fellow HR practitioner also smiling on that beat as well. Sijui kama umepitia hiyo. Mr. Charles, tell us your experience, because what we are looking at, and even this particular data, we haven't really gotten the bits of reports even from Kenya, and even in Nairobi, just farms actually saying this is what we're experiencing. We're just analyzing data from UK as well as US, and this particular data seems very far off. But in your experience, does it actually happen?
Well, thank you. It does happen. It's only that nobody has come out and conducted a research to collect this data. But this is a trend that is here with us, and if we really don't look at it keenly, it will stay. And consider the Gen Zs, these are the workforce.
But how serious is the issue?
It's serious. Look at the point where you are ghosted after taking somebody through the job interview process to a point of job offer, and then you're ghosted.
So
it is serious.
In Kenya, does it happen when this Gen Z say on their first day, or after a few days of working and they realize, no, I'm not doing this for these few shillings, as Othiambo was saying, and then they leave?
It does happen. It's only that the employers are not ready to talk about it, because, you know, they got to sell the image of the organization.
Ah, okay, interesting.
But it's something that is happening, and it's here with us.
Right.
Yes.
So, and the fact that you say employers are shy of talking about this, well, tonight is your chance, employers. I won't mention your name, but then just tell us, my company X, this number of Gen Zs ghosted me and all that. Tell us all that. You can also call in live, 0795 045 864. Seme kutoke yako yote. I'll start off with Joyce Njoki. She's a Gen Z ambassador. Joyce, as a Gen Z, first of all, would you do that?
Thank you. No.
No? Yeah. Okay. But then, for fellow, and in case you do have the mic?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So in case, now, for other Gen Zs, why do you think that is the case, really? Just, helping even the HRs in the room really understand, because you applied for this position. You are, really desperate, as it sounded on your CV, saying, how competent you are. But then either you do not appear on the first day, or after a few days in the office, you say, nope, I'm doing this. Why do you think Gen Zs do this?
I really don't have, I don't know why they do that. I've not interacted with people who have ghosted their employers or employers to be. I've interacted with people who are passionate about what they want. So, sina maoni.
On that, all right.
Yeah.
You have the mic, sir. Yes. You even interacting with other, Gen Zs. The question would be, so are these young people actually ready to get into this job market? Because if you're applying for a certain position and then you ghost this employer, that would probably show even the employer that, all right, maybe he or she had another option. And it would probably be another, side gig, or getting into the gig economy. The question would be, are young people actually prepared for this job market?
Okay, first, thank you for having me on this show. And all I can say is that, in Kenya, we have an unemployment problem. It's a big menace, and so the youths are going for any job that is available. So you will find that maybe someone saw a job offer somewhere and then looked at the qualifications and decided to try it out. So just as a fallback plan, so that maybe they can get employed. But at the end of the day, they don't possess the skill set, they don't possess the interest, they have no interest in that job, and also they are not passionate about it. All they just wanted was the salary and the employment. So when they get there, at first they think that they can just go through it and flow with it, but at the end of the day, we Gen Zs, we are not people who can work somewhere they don't love. Mm-hmm. So they just find themselves struggling to go to that work, and at the end of the day, they decide to quit because maybe they have a toxic boss, maybe the boss doesn't understand them, and then they look at what they are doing. It's not really interesting them, even if at the end of the day they'll be getting money, but it's not something that they really want to do. So that's why you find that maybe some of them, like the HR said, they could just even come for the interview, and then after the interview, they've qualified, they have gotten the job offer, but looking at the environment where they are supposed to work, they think that, okay, well, this is not somewhere I want to be, and then they just quit.
All right. So for you, you have the mic. Well, many would say Gen Zs are soft because there is no particular working environment that would really be at the peak, soft life. Definitely there are going to be challenges and all that. So are Gen Zs just soft and they just don't want all that kind of hardship and all that?
Okay, one thing that I will say is that Gen Zs are really looking for opportunities out here. I do deal with comrades more so, and one thing that you realize, they are looking for opportunities. They don't want to know if it's a job, is an internship, is an attachment, or if it is a volunteer opportunity. It is quite amazing that I've had someone turn down an opportunity that they got. But one thing that I will say is that if even you look at the streets, the people who are doing the most difficult jobs nowadays, they are Gen Zs. Mm-hmm. And therefore saying the aspect...
By difficult, what do you mean? Is it Mjengo? What kind of job?
Yeah, even Mjengo, if you look at the people who are riding border in the streets, and let's talk of the kind
really?
yeah.
So really Gen Zs?
So Gen Zs are looking for opportunities, but when it comes to the aspect of they turn down the jobs, maybe Gen Zs sometimes they look at the work conditions.
Okay.
They don't want to be told what to do. That's one thing that I've realized. Let me talk from point of me. I once worked for a period of 10 months, but at some point you realize something that you are told to do is not easy to adapt to. So I think that is one aspect that makes them not to adapt to the opportunities that they are being given to.
Okay.
So what has surprised me much is that they were given the opportunity, but they did not show up. So that's quite upsetting.
Right behind you, Felix Maina is he's a director. So I assume he is an employer himself, and he sits and actually analyzes. I don't know if you're a Gen Z yourself. Siku hizi inakonga ngumu kujua kama mtu ni Gen Z. But then Maina, your interaction with even other Gen Zs and their mentality about the job market, because I am a Gen Z myself, and I'd admit that. But then how we interpreted the job market, even from our parents, grandparents, was, you do the 9 to 5, you wake up very early in the morning, but then things are changing. The gig economy is coming in. Your understanding of how this Gen Zs interpret the job market, how is it?
Okay, so the market varies actually from one Gen Z to another. So you'll find that there are some whom will take the opportunity given up to them, and once they work, let's say 1 month or several months, or even when you're trying to hire them, they may take up the opportunity then ghost you. So it happens from time to time.
Have you had that situation where someone actually ghosted you?
Yes, once only.
Interesting, okay.
Okay, so what happened, we started the recruiting process from hiring, from taking up the CV and hiring them. So when the day for reporting came up, they never showed up. Okay. We only just received a resignation email. So we were shocked on our end, but having done the investigation on our end, we found that it was due to salary shock. So many Gen Zs happen that they expect that yes, the economy is hard on their end, but they also expect at least the job, when they are doing the salary negotiation and they're taking up the job, they're expecting that maybe the salary I can be able to work with. But once it dawns to them that the job is maybe harder than they think, or the expectations may be higher, they think they see that the salary is not so much fitting to them. Also, okay. I think also there's another trend coming up, faking it till we make it, where they may fake their CVs, expecting at least some few opportunities to open up, because let's say their industry is too much saturated, so they may try to fake it up their CVs until at least they make up to the door.
Okay.
Then they realize that the job is hands-on immediately.
And on that, allow me to also, now for you as well, are you able to know of a cooked up CV?
Yeah, right now, like Blue Collar Technologies, we do ATS.
Okay.
Applicant tracking system.
Okay.
Where we actually use the AI to check the CVs. Okay. We are able to check the folder from the hay.
So say nikienda ChatGPT ni chonge CV ingine safi, you'll be able to know this CV is just from ChatGPT.
Okay, so there are some that may pass through there are some that may pass. It's not 100%,
okay,
but at least it filters out like the 90% fake ones.
Right.
So once you come out now to the interview, now that's when the game changes. So you may try to fake up the interview, then you realize that the job which you came up for, it's different than the one which you faked it.
It's different. Briefly, Sharon, before I come to you, both HR practitioners, are you able to know, when you look at a CV, are you able to know this one is straight up from ChatGPT? I'll start with you, Thiambo.
Yes, and also no. Why? Because there are some that are automatic, right from the wording.
Okay.
So that there are those common phrases that you know will be given by ChatGPT or even Perplexity or any other AI channel. So what happens is you'll be able to glance at, but then you go to the nitty-gritties because we say career is personal. So my experiences will be very different from your experiences.
Okay.
So out of that one you cannot custom make.
Okay.
Later you're going to hear like Professor Magoha, his CV was almost 90 pages.
Yeah.
You can't fake someone's CV, and when they go with it.
Our Gen Zs unawasikia tu. Kitoto, you briefly before I cross over to Sharon.
You know, I'm part of this group. One, it's very easy to tell a CV that is crafted. But then this mainly comes up at the point of physical interviews. You're able to gauge the kind of response you get from a candidate and whatever is in the CV. If they do not align, then it's common sense. You get to know this is actually faked. Yes. So it's easy to gauge.
Right. As what the HR practitioner are saying. Sure, you're a student. I don't know if you're working right now. That's upon you to actually tell us if you are. But then you definitely have that dream job of whatever you're studying right now. And you have that certain amount of salary. You was talking about the salary shock, where this person, after much consideration, I'm talking to his ancestors, akaona, no, I can't actually come to this particular job because of what I'm going to be paid. For you as a student, and preparing yourself now to get into this job market, into your desired kind of career, what amount of money do you think, and also pick from other Gen Zs, what amount of money do you think should be your starting?
Well, on the amount of money, I wouldn't want to comment much about it. But on the issue of, going to an interview and then you get that the salary is not actually what you expected. As a Gen Z, okay, I wouldn't do that myself. As Madam said, you walk into an interview and then you ghost somebody there. I don't think I'll be in a place to do that, but speaking for my fellow Gen Z, I feel like I have actually applied for a job before, so okay. I know. And as I applied for that job, I didn't apply for just one job. I had options. Okay. So the whole issue of you having options, I'll weigh this salary and this salary. At the end of the day, I will have gone to maybe 3 interviews that day. So the issue of me ghosting you, maybe I saw a better option than the one you're giving me. Right. So as I walk into a job market, I won't just have one interview to go to. I have options. So that is where we get the cases of me ghosting you because my expectations were not met. Yeah. So
on that, and the reason I was asking about the whole amount X you probably want is because that's a question that you're going to be asked by your prospective employer. and they're asking you, okay, fine, your CV looks fantastic, hii haikai ya GPT, inakaa yako vizuri, you look qualified. So how much do you want? And you tell them figure X, but then for you, how should that conversation be? As a Gen Z, how would you want that conversation to go? Because, well, the employer has a certain amount put, and they don't want you to, go over beyond. But then you also are telling them a certain amount. How would you want that conversation about, this is my salary? After this amount of time, I would like you to add, have an addition of this. This is what I would like, my off days to look like, and I want you to pay me exactly for what I'm doing. How should that conversation be, according to you?
We as Gen Zs, we are outspoken. You've said the whole, that I will give my options and say what I want. The conversation of the salary, maybe we should meet at some point. Give me your terms, I'll give you my terms. We come to an agreement. And I've heard him saying that, we get issues of, I come to work maybe the first month, and then whatever we agreed upon and whatever I am working for are not in line, then I will obviously resign. So I think you agree, you as the employer and I as the one seeking for the job. Yeah.
All right. Joel, you are, as the founder of Marsh Events Limited, that definitely goes to show you decided to be your own employer. Before now being and founding, Marsh Events, had you, applied for other jobs before?
Yes, I actually worked for a year in a company.
Okay. Well, your first job?
Yes, that was my first job.
Okay.
As a journalist, actually.
Okay.
And then I left because when I was working there, that's when I started now founding this other company. So when it started making sense, it only made sense for me to leave. I mean, why do I have to work for 6 days and I can work for 3 days? So, and I think even on the issue of ghosting, I think we should also talk about how this entire ghosting thing began with employers. I mean, we send emails, you don't reply, you don't even say we received your email. It's payback, just to say, but not to say that it's in any way good. But yes, to answer your question, I've worked before.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that particular switch from now being the employee now to being the employer, I don't know if you've employed other people and because you're definitely looking for, young, being Matters events, so you definitely look for someone tech savvy, people who are creative, and these are definitely Gen Z. What, according to you, as now their boss, what is the mentality about work? Because as you say, you're in this one year and you say, why am I working for 6 days? I could work for 3. Is it the same for these people? And are you feeling the same way? Because now you're in the shoes of the employer who you're working for 1 year. So are you feeling the same, or are you thinking, mbona Gen Z ana behavior hivi?
Well, to say the truth is, it's a different feeling on both sides. When you're now the employee and now when you're on this other side, it's two different feelings. But now because I am a Gen Z myself, I have gotten to understand how to navigate through the entire working conditions. Because Gen Zs are not just looking for a paycheck. They're looking for meaning. They're looking for some place to belong. They don't want you to just pay them and that's it. They want to feel like they're part of it. So if you understand the entire Gen Z and how we're just born and made and everything, you create a working, because if, for example, let's say now as an employer, the working conditions are not good and someone quits on me, I would totally understand. And I am in the gig economy myself, because events, it's all about gigs and stuff. Yes. Agreements, you've agreed with someone, they're coming to, because we also do photography, we've agreed they're coming to do photography. They get there, you're telling them they're supposed to make 19 other reels and I don't know what. If they quit on you, you are the problem, they're not the problem. I feel like we are totally misunderstanding this generation, and now the problem is they're here to stay. We are here to stay. We are the future employers. We are the future, you know, whatever it is we are. But like we are missing the point in the part of we are misunderstanding the entire Gen Z thing. If you just, and it's all about like my friend here was saying, it's all about coming to an agreement. I've told you you're going to shoot photography, I need 250 photos, that's it. You give me 250 photos, you're paid. But when it comes to, and Gen Zs are not afraid of questioning traditional norms, or where our parents would be told, utakuwa unafanya this and this and this, unafika hapo, it's a whole workload. And they're just okay with it because they need to feed their families. That's where the Gen Zs are questioning. And
on that bit, Njoki, yes, definitely, you'd want to ask your employer, why am I doing this? But then that definitely works for, let's say, what he does, the gig economy. But then you're in careers, let's say you're a doctor, you're in this traditional kind of roles. How would a Gen Z in this kind of spaces, how should they adapt? Because in this particular spaces, there is no debate. You won't start telling your employer, see I work for 3 days, I work from home.
Okay, about that, I think us as Gen Zs, we don't want, as he said, we don't want to be told what to do. I think we are self-driven. So when I come at your workplace, as he has said, and we had agreed, I'll do this job, and you start telling me I have to do extras, what and what. Hapo ndio sasa tunaambia hatuwezi. Yeah, being outspoken, as Sharon said. So, and also, I think as Gen Zs, we also have to open our minds and tujitume pia juu siku rahisi.
True, and what you're saying, before I interact with the HR practitioners, yes, you'd be telling your boss, I can't do this, but then how do you do that as a Gen Z? Ndio hata HR waelewe, but this is how Gen Zs talk. How do you do it, but then you do not sound rude, ama, impolite, kitu kama hiyo?
As an IR student, that is where you apply negotiation skills. So you have to be respectful, and also you have to articulate what you want respectfully, and so that to come up with an agreement. See, uende to kurusha maneno, no. You have to be respectful to your employer, and also unatumia negotiation skills zenye umelearn to. Yeah.
All right. This particular word has cropped up a number of times, misunderstanding. And the Gen Zs are saying, and now at this point I'd be saying, we are saying that we are misunderstood by the employer. But then now, again, this shifts in traditional kind of careers. There isn't that leeway to actually getting this understanding where you're telling your boss, I want to do this because the structure of this work does not allow you to do that. As an employer, and for the employers who are listening to us tonight, how should they adapt to getting this, conversation skills, as Joyce is talking about, this conversation skills with the Gen Z in this workplace, where you tell them, I hear you.
I think one of the things we need to all employ is emotional intelligence. Their way of working, their way of thinking, their way of doing things is totally different. Them, they work on deliverables. They are not loyal. The millennials are loyal. It's 30 years award service. Gen Z is award yes, it's success story. It is 2 years, 3 years hip hop, like as much as, because one of the things is that they are purpose driven according to the roles. It's a role what gives them satisfaction. So the moment they've hit the bar, they don't want autopilot. It's next job. They keep applying. It doesn't matter whether it's locally or abroad. That's one of the things the employers need to do. So they are not loyal. Then the other things is that...
And before you continue, is there a downside to that?
Yes, they are.
Because when and as I was saying, as we look at even our parents, our grandparents, they've been they've been a civil servant for 50 years plus, and they've been so loyal to this. And growing up, you see certain traits about them. But then for us, hopping from one place to other, what is the downside of that?
The downside of it is the lack of consistency. And when an employer looks at it, we come and look at it like you're not satisfied. Others, it plays on the remuneration part, it is a plus to the employee. But to the employer, they look at it with so many dotted lines, thinking, why are you working for so many employers for such a short duration? What is wrong with you?
Sinatafuta experience.
Unatafuta experience, ipate hapo. And that is where I meant back to the law of consistency, where you'll find that motivation is what keeps people going, but discipline keeps you growing. So it's the lack of the discipline of being consistent in that particular role. Getting to know I need to move, and that's why they don't even obey protocol. They don't believe in going through up the organization structure like this all the way to CEO. It is I move here, I move here. They believe instead of going horizontal, they can do vertical like this. And that is them. And it's because of where they have come from, and also because even what the education system is able to provide, because they were told you can do everything. So they are like, they can do here, they can do there. But back to employers, I think it's good to embrace this particular paradigm shift, because we are coming to a season of these Gen Zs that will be able to be partaking 3 or 4 jobs, because they mentioned about gig economy. Before that, there was no gig economy. It is you reporting to TV 47, 8 to 5 or 8 to 9, and you go home. These ones, it's nothing like that. It is 6 hours in TV 47, your next gig. And life goes on. And that is where the world is actually shifting to. So there's a whole paradigm shift, including for the employer, to a point where the disclaimer of you're only going to work for this and only employer. No, Gen Zs will come and tell you that is not possible. After I live here, I have a life. And in my life, this is what I do. In fact, they're not even scared of saying their side hustles. In fact, they do their side hustles. They are doing their job. But they make sure they are doing their deliverables. So it's actually a cat and mouse game, but at the same time, getting to where the balances of the organization. The same thing positions, because if they succeed, if the same Gen Zs succeed out of your work jurisdiction, the employer is very happy to say, that is my employee. And so it's actually a way of getting to balance, both for the employers and also for the employees.
Right. Kitoto, I'd assume you're probably a millennial getting into...
No. I am in the early group of Gen Zs.
So now you'll be speaking on behalf of Oksama Sisi.
But...
And so before you come in on that, just understanding what the mentality of Gen Zs. Is it the education system that we received? Is it, our parents, they live their life wakaona hapana si tumeteseka? Because all of them always had this story of nilikuwa na kiatu moja, nilinunua kiatu when I was like 10 years old. They have this from the poor background to this rich kind of background, or a better off kind of background, and they said, no, I want better for my children. Do you think Gen Zs are a spoiled kind of a generation, and this is a product of it?
Oh, if I could give it a percentage, I would say about 40% are spoiled.
Okay.
So at 60 are good.
So
yes, the 40.
4 out of any.
The 40% are, let me call them urbanized. This is somebody whose bedroom is ever locked. Nobody checks up on whatever they're doing. They could be on the media most of the time. And this is not a personal attack. I am part of, of that group. Their development in terms of soft skills then becomes very poor. Which is also a factor as to why they're not able to really bring out their thoughts clearly without getting into, let me call them verbal fights. So I think yes. All
right. So now to the employers, the adaptability of Because at the end of the day, as Mo was saying, Gen Zs are definitely here to stay.
Yes.
And Gen Zs are going to be the next 10 years, and even right now, I mean, you definitely have Gen Zs who are employers themselves. So that means there's need for a shift in the workspace. I think 20 years ago, getting into the office, you definitely had to be, suit and tie in certain kind of offices.
Yes.
Tukionekana na dreadlocks, hapana, you can't come into this, even getting into an interview. But things have changed. What kind of a change are you expecting to see in the coming years? Or it matters workspaces adapting to the current generation?
We're actually going into a pure remote system. It won't be hybrid. It will be purely remote. In 20 years that you're talking of, I don't think I'll be getting up to make it to the office by 8. Okay? So employers really need to adapt to this change. And it's not so easy, but with a little bit of career coaching, the Gen Zs are able to adapt. In fact, it's both the Gen Zs and the other generations, because these are the generations of the current employers, and they may be employers for the next 10 to 15 years. So with career coaching, they'll be gaining insights from this other end and adapting from the other end. So with that merger, we'll be in a position that both parties will be at an equilibrium. So the workplace will not be that, it won't be the physical bit of it. I'm not seeing us there.
Okay, but Sankara, early on you definitely talking about the number of unemployment in the country, which is very high. And taking a look at case study, a Gen Z works up today, I may fill out about like 10 positions. That would definitely mean that he or she is, filling out for the money. The preparation of even the job market, he or she maybe went through the education system, but then he or she is definitely looking for something that is not even related. Alienda kasomea engineering, lakini amesema, you know what, I'm looking for anything at this point. How should this Gen Z, as a Gen Z, as a youth leader yourself, you talk to other young people, how should he or she approach this kind of role? Maybe akipata hata hakuisomea, lakini anasema venye ilikuwa imesema pale nyuma, fake it to
until you make it.
Make it,
Well, you see, the thing is that you might even have gone up to university. You have studied a course like maybe say engineering or even law, but then you come to the job market and you realize that mambo kwa ground is different. It's not all rosy the way you thought. So you have looked for a job opening in your line of education, the jobs that actually match your education level and skill sets, but then you realize that the jobs are not available. So you just go for what's available. You are an engineer, but umeona hapo kuna kazi ya sales. Then you decide, okay, I can talk to people and buy this product. But then you get into the market and you realize that it's not actually what you thought. It actually involves a lot of skills which you currently lack. So there are some who actually learn on the job, but others, it becomes hard for them such that they feel that, no, with this stress, maybe because you have some targets which you need to beat, you have a boss that is always screaming at you, telling you that you need to bring in more sales. But then when you go out there, you just can't because you don't have those skills. So it reaches a point that you decide, well, okay, I can't do this. Then you go back to unemployment. And I think this is it's a problem that needs actually to be addressed. We have problems of underemployment. You know, you can be employed, but then whatever your skills and education are not up to par with what you are getting as a job. So you feel drained, and that's why you find most of the youths, they can't keep a job for a very long time. And another thing, I had my friend there, the HRs, you know, they are saying that the Gen Zs are spoiled because he brought up a figure of 60%. 60%, it means that most of them are not, are actually spoiled. But the case is that the Gen Zs are not spoiled. It's only that they know what they want. And if they don't get what they want, they will actually just leave it. They are not like our parents. Our parents could persevere somewhere. Every day they'll be complaining at home, but tomorrow they'll be going. But for a Gen Z...
You're not spoiled.
Yeah.
Sharon, do you think Gen Z are spoiled?
I think to some level of degree, yeah.
Does it have to do with, okay, yes, our parents' perseverance and all that, but then our behavior and our education system? When you look at how we were taught and the whole education system of cramming and all that, and when you tie that to even how we are looking for job opportunities, any ties to that?
Yes, a lot. But then you see, venye tunaambua Gen Z, we are spoiled, Gen Z wamefanya, we are a product of how our upbringing, how we were brought up by our parents, who are currently our employers. So I'll say to some extent, mkisema sisi ni spoiled, I feel like it is your problem. It is nyinyi ndio mmetufanya kuwa spoiled, because if I wake up and I see you struggling every day, complaining like he said, and tomorrow bado you're going to the same place, I would want to be different, not be like you, not follow the same career path that you followed. And practically Gen Z, sisemi tunajipenda, but we will prioritize ourselves and our happiness to how you think and how you perceive me. Yeah.
All right. Allow me to read about 3 messages here. Remember, you can also call in live. That's for employers, Gen Zs. Today's one of those days. Yeah, Semi Kutoke and tell us, have you ever ghosted your prospective employer or said, no, I can't work with this amount of money that I'm supposed to be paid here? Nikki Ombasa says, Gen Zs are an interesting generation. They speak their mind, they know what they want, and they won't settle for less. While the HR department considers interview as a time to know who will be part of the company, and many have the idea that they have the upper hand since the applicant is job seeking, Gen Zs use the opportunity to know more about the company in question, and if it doesn't fit the needs, they just walk. It may be after the interview, a few days into the job, mtu anapenda lunch akiendanga. Someone here says Gen Zs don't like being micromanaged. That is Dawood, that has just come in. It's actually a question. Hi, I'm Christopher Nyaware from Jerusalem, Nairobi. My question is, do our employers consider themselves shifting out of traditional professionalism because we lack emotional intelligence and time to gain the required experience because of our skill of observing? John, I'll throw this partially to you, and then I throw the whole, the other bit to the HR professionals. You mentioned that you worked for a certain period of time. The emotional intelligence of your employer, how will you rate it? And even employers generally, who are who are baby boomers and into that generation.
Okay, mine was quite different because I regard myself as a leader, so I feel like when I'm working there, I'm not making impact to the society. So I saw it worthy to lead the job and be in a position to do something that is quite helping to the society. As you can see, my T-shirt is branded. I'm a CEO and founder of Force Developers Kenya. And just to say, my employer was not that bad. She was good, and we could cope up so well. But at some point, you realize even the employers don't lack even the emotional intelligence. You came very early in the morning, you started doing work here and there, and then she turns up later the day. She's quite moody and so on. And for a Gen Z, it's not something that you can hold to. Also, being told to do an extra work. We are told if you are given a certain portion of work, do that. Don't go to an extra mile and do something else. For what? And you're not being paid for that. So
very good point there.
Yeah, so it becomes quite a conversation. You employed me to do this and this and this. So the employers have the mentality of, I employed you to do this work, so you have to stay here from 8 maybe to 4, even if you have completed what you came to do for that day. So,
all right. Felix, and that bit of micromanaging, as someone who also manages other people, and Gen Zs really for this matter, how do you avoid micromanaging? Vis-a-vis, you actually just want to train. Maybe this person is very passionate about what you employ them to do. You are training them and all that, but then they're feeling, well, bossy, but don't want to micromanage. How do you balance that, Felix?
Okay, so I think the micromanagement part usually most of the time comes up due to the company not adapting to technology. Okay. You find that the company is relying on the manager to follow you up manually, to know what you are doing. So the employee feels that, and mostly this comes up actually to Gen Zs, when the manager is checking up on them every time. So, and they are calling them, they are asking them, have you done your work? And the work which they are doing, it's manual. So it's hard for them to manage them, and that's why they deploy tactics like micromanagement. On my end, I think that when companies adapt to technology and they are able to know what their workers are doing in real time, so basically they may be working at home remotely, but they know what they are doing currently from their specified job times. So I think it's all about when companies adopt to technology and they are able to at least let off that gas, to stop micromanaging the workers. But also, I think it's also personalities. So there are different managers who have different management methods, where some may prefer micromanagement, which I think for many employers, they should actually disdain from having a management where they are actually micromanaging the employees. Right. So in blue-collar technologies, actually, we strive to at least adopt the technology part aspect, where we use, for example, for the salespeople, we deploy the CRM, where we are able to know what they're doing in the ground. You don't have to call them every time to know what they're doing. Right. Yeah.
Right. And hope employers are listening to that. Joel, I saw your hand was up when I was reading that bit of matters, micromanaging. As an employee yourself, working in, and particularly even in the gig economy, because this is one of those very interesting pathways where photographer ni mnoma, umemwajiri hapo, lakini hadai ushinde umemkumbusha at the end of the day, nitumie hizi picha. Ama client anadai work na pesi yake. But at the end of the day, huo unadai kazi ifanyike. Briefly, so that nipate 30 seconds ya wrapping up ndio tumalize. Okay. How do you handle that?
So having experienced it on both sides, personally, I hate being micromanaged. But now on this other side, in the example you've given, it's a tricky situation, especially when a third party like a client is involved. There's what the clients want. There's now this service provider, and they're having a difficult time coming together because of that. So what I'm learning to do is to trust people, because you can't go through the entire process of recruiting people, doing all that, and not trusting them. So what I am learning to do is trusting people to actually do their work. And the most important part is communication, because what happens, and now where Gen Zs get mad is, for example, you shout at them because for example, they haven't done something. But communication comes in when you just call them and tell them, hey, tulisema unafaa ufanye hivi na hivi, what is happening? But now if I call them and I'm shouting at them, wataniambia, we bana, we kwenda huko, or something. We yo kazi fanya, or something. So it's all a matter of communication, and I think where most of us are missing the part is communication. And when you mentioned training at some point, even when it comes to training, say you've seen someone has a potential in something and you want to,
micromanage bana.
It's all about communication. Ukikama mwambie ni aje, I have seen kuna hii kitu naona ukipasu, you do really well. And I want to train you on this and this and this. And this is what you're going to do and this and this. Of course, they'll tell you I'm not available on Thursday, don't call me on Tuesday, or many other things. But when you communicate, things will go seamlessly. But now, the issue of micromanaging will never work. Because especially with Gen Zs, when you micromanage someone, they take a back seat and they, unataka kufanya? Wagwan, wefanya.
A comment here before you, Nini. I've actually been told we have about like 15 or so minutes to continue. Watu wangu wamekuwa very gracious enough. Thank you very much. From Sarah Muthoni, so interesting, and this is a reply to you, Sharon. So interesting to hear that we parents have contributed to the Gen Z's intolerance to toxic job places. I agree, being in the millennial age bracket. But I think we're vumilia in these jobs to make sure they don't lack. Big up Sharon. Mom is happy. Oh, that's your mom. Okay. Telling you, okay, umeamua uchome. That particular question that Chris had asked, I'll start with you. Kitoto on this one. Hi, I'm Christopher Nyaware from Jerusalem. My question is, do our employers consider themselves shifting out of traditional professionalism? Because we lack emotional intelligence, and it has really been discussed here, the whole emotional intelligence and time to gain the required experience. So explain to us what the traditional professionalism means, and because as we're saying, we will be in the next 10 years or so be the employers to the Gen Alphas who are in school right now. So how do we shift that?
The traditional professionalism involved very strict, let me give it that term, strict ways of doing things. You are expected to be in the office by maybe 8, maybe with an allowance of 10 minutes. There is a particular dress code that you need to put on. You're given a task, there's a particular procedure on how you should be doing the write-ups, which is not really the case today. Most of the Gen Zs prefer social media communication. They'll give you a simple text. Maybe I'm here, we are supposed to discuss this, what's the next procedure? Rather, you gave out this assignment, I've done it. What do I do next? That was not the case then. But then you were doing physical letters. Who has the time to sit down and type all that?
So it basically means even the messaging, even in emails, might probably be changed.
Yes, it's changed. Look at this. Just a minute. Look at this. Even got.
That definitely speaks to age, Thiambu, yes.
If you've been so careful with the practicing lawyers, they actually serve court documents, affidavits, via WhatsApp. So things are really changing. Employers need to change.
All right. Thiambu, before you answer this, just a response to what he's talking about, explaining to us what this professional, the traditional, professionalism is. But then a question would be, to some extent, does it help? This whole, you're taught this, you should write this email this particular way when you're writing to the HR. When you're coming into the office, you should be dressed in this particular way. You should talk to people in this particular matter, in this manner when you're in the office. Do you think in a way it actually helps?
Yeah, it does. I can say addressing your employer well and respectfully. It's just a way of showing respect. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
A question here that has just popped in, and I'll have both of you answer this before now I start opening the floor again. Hi, I'm Geoffrey Chore from Machakos, first on to Loud Blue Collar for nailing the big problem. My question goes to HR. What efforts or modalities do they put in place to ensure that they address mental health awareness? Because this can lead to Gen Zs prioritizing their own well-being of a job, especially when it comes to micromanaging and pressure.
Thanks for that question. I think it's a month for mental health.
Yes, it is.
And being at such a critical time, having already the act and the policy in place, it's such a real issue, not just in the workplace, but even at home. And mental health is a disease that you cannot be able to describe. You can be suited up, dressed up, full of makeup, but you're still suffering mental health. And that is actually a direct reciprocating effect on the deliverables that anyone gets to give. And that is why you'll find a superstar in the workplace, then you just hear they went behind the washroom and they hung themselves, and everyone is asking themselves why. So mental health as it is needs to be taken very seriously. In fact, it even needs to be covered by the insurance policies. To a point when you're told by the employee that I'm not feeling well, I need to go for therapy, you automatically accept and you allow that particular individual to go for therapy. The other thing I want to also mention is in terms of the micromanaging. The micromanaging right now is the need to understand that as employers, that these particular Gen Zs, their digital stimuli is very high. And in fact, for the Gen Alphas, their digital stimuli will be higher because the Gen Alphas, right before they have teeth or have even spoken any word, they can unlock your phone, download apps and watch even YouTube. They do not even know anything else. But the digital stimuli will be higher for them. Yeah. So we have to use mechanisms of how to not micromanage them on a physical capacity, but get to use what he mentioned in terms of apps, Gantt charts, work plans, bright systems way of reporting. We were mentioning there are no memos nowadays. People talk on WhatsApp, like your boss will tell you something on WhatsApp and that's an instruction. Do not question whether it's social media, you did not get an email, you ask who sent, and if you read it and blue tick and don't do it, that is counted like you've not done. Because according to them, they have given the instructions. And things have really changed. So it's getting to know how is it that every person is going to go in line with what is happening across the world. You mentioned about etiquette. Etiquette will never cease. The thing, it will just take in its different metamorphoses. We all know Mark Zuckerberg doesn't put on suits. But the day he appeared to the Senate, he did suit up. Yes. He put on a suit. He couldn't say he's a Gen Z, he doesn't, no. So it has to reach a place, there are limits of how things are done and when they are done. So even for the Gen Zs, they need to understand, I can't just go with Crocs to an interview, but I can go with Crocs if I'm playing games or rugby like that. And even getting to understand, even for the employers, how are these Gen Zs wired? Right now, everyone is watching Manchester. So if we had a team meeting and you're watching Manchester, Gen Zs will get sick because they have to watch the game, and especially if they're Manchester United fans. Yeah. So they better get sick or get an excuse to just be out of the room. So it's get to know that these Gen Zs also value fun, they value finances, they also value family a lot. Right. And much as work, they have to value work. Okay. So getting a balance of the same is really important. And currently there's even a conference that is going on by Kipra. And it's all about shaping pathways to future jobs and unlocking opportunities for the youth. Mm-hmm. The government is also very concerned about you Gen Zs. Mm-hmm. That's why all these conversations are happening. So it's really a very good conversation, getting to know what is in line in the future.
Right. And because it was also directed to you, as you also come in on this, I had said we definitely get into the impact of social media. And she's brought it up, definitely nicely, how Gen Zs definitely love social media use. And I remember there's this whole challenge of, was it Monday well-being, something around that, and making sure that even in workplaces, the employers know that there's a specific day for your mental health. As you chime in on what she's talking about, the workplaces and from gig economy to, the kind of, even in hospitals for teachers as well, how can they ensure that this is actually, enshrined into what they do?
Okay, just on the other bit, two cases. The employers need to embrace flexible working options. We shall have sorted the issues with mental health at almost 80%. And open communication. You can't really do anything at the workplace without properly communicating. Be ready to receive my feedback. If it does not sit well with you, say it in a way that will not cause chaos down there. We shall be somewhere. Okay? On the issue of social media, we've really learned a lot from social media. This is something that we need to embrace. Okay? Most of the knowledge, or rather much of the knowledge that we have, has been, we've gotten it from the media. We can really regulate its usage, but we can't really do away with it. I hope that's very clear. Yeah, we can't do away with it. However, there could be guidelines, slight regulations. But this is something that we must embrace, kabisa, at all cost.
All right.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have about 14 or so minutes. Your SMSs back at home are coming back. Oh, no, about 7 or so. So sorry for that. 7 minutes to wrap it up. Your SMSs and WhatsApp messages are still coming in, so please keep talking to us. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think Gen Zs are too spoiled to get into the job market? Call us live if you can, 0795 045 864. I'll use about this 7 or so minutes to get your wrapping up thoughts. In about 45 seconds or so, I'll start off with you, Bona Director. Your clarion call to the Gen Zs, first of all, to employers. What do they need to know about your preparation to getting into this job market, and what do we need to change?
Okay, so I think that something that needs to change is the expectation gap. So basically, the employers should embrace flexible working hours, as my friend has said here, Charles. We should, as employers, we should also embrace technology, because Gen Zs, when they come into the workplace, they expect you to start having, you basically start working in tech, basically. They don't expect you to be writing letters, you to be writing memos where the normal text, the normal email, they expect like WhatsApp and whatnot.
Okay.
And also the employers should be able to change what they are doing from traditional methods to modern methods.
Right.
So it all depends on them having a system where they're trying to bridge that gap, at least improving work wellness and job wellness. Also for the Gen Z, I think, yes, the market is tough. The job offerings, they're slim in pickings in such a way that you find that like 100 of them, they're applying for the same job.
Okay.
I think also once they have gotten that job, I think they should try at least to get that experience from out of that experience.
Right.
And they should try to go through the normal processes and try to have the change inside the workplace. Changes happens inside.
Right.
Yeah.
John, in about 30 or so seconds.
Okay, thank you. One thing that I will say to the employers, there is better ways to venture into and also handling Gen Zs. If a Gen Z is not okay with employment, then you can look it in maybe a collaborative manner where you will come on board and not like you are employing him, but you can work hand in hand as a, like you're working together in terms of you have not employed me, but we are working together. And this is to Gen Zs.
Right.
There is a quote that says the worst tragedy in life is not death, but
Okay.
is having a life without a purpose.
Right.
We as Gen Zs, we are lacking purpose nowadays, and that's the reason you see we are not sticking to one job and so on, and we are not holding on to the ethics of job market and so on. So
Okay.
we need to venture into that as much as possible.
Asante
Thank you.
sana. Sharon, your final thoughts. What needs to change really in about 30 or less seconds?
I'll say stereotyping. People do stereotype Gen Zs a lot, and I was sitting here wondering, kama Gen Z tumwatetemesha hivi, what about Gen Alpha?
I know, yeah.
What about Gen Alpha? Also, another thing, I am a student of psychology. I'll say mental health, awareness in the workplace. Let us prioritize as employers, prioritize your employees' mental health. People do go through a lot. Somebody here said that you can have makeup, look lavishing, have a lavishing lifestyle, but underneath, kidogo, you're going through a lot. So let's embrace the whole mental health awareness in workspaces, and also communication. We have talked about communication here a lot. Let's communicate. Let's break the barriers of mkubwa na employee. Let's communicate. So
Right.
basically, that's all.
As Gen Zs like to say, anaku easy. Sankara, your final thoughts in a very few seconds.
Yes, thank you. So the employers, I think, going forward, they need to evolve with the changing times, because the times are not the same like they were before, and the workplace is also changing. So they should also be ready to embrace the change that is coming,
Okay.
so that the workplace can flow, and there won't be much tension with the employees, especially the Gen Zs.
Right.
And again, to the Gen Zs, all I can tell them is that there's nothing that comes easy in this life. Whether you are employed or even yourself can be an employer. So we should all be responsible members of the society. Know that once you go to work, you actually need to work. You have not gone there for fun. So let's also embrace that and know that we have come of age.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Bwana Mumo?
What I can say is Gen Zs are not here to follow outdated rules. They're here to create better ones.
Okay.
Job market should not be afraid of that. Rather, we should meet 50-50.
Okay.
And that we will create better working conditions, which is both purposeful and productive.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Asante sana. Thebo, your final thoughts in very few seconds.
For me, one message to the employers and also to the Gen Z is that career adaptability and also adaptability is very key. And that forms the basis of the next future jobs across the world. And then getting to adapt to the current and modern globalization trends will be very important. So adaptability, both for the employers and both for the employees. And then I just leave you also with a quote by John Maxwell: you must know yourself to grow yourself,
Right.
applying to both parties.
Interesting stuff.
Thank you.
Kiteto?
This is a clarion call to the employers. Let's not ghost the Gen Zs.
Yes, please.
It's not the other way around. These guys are here to stay.
Okay.
They are tech savvy,
Right.
and there's nothing else we are going to do in the near future without technology.
Right.
Let's embrace them, bring them on board, coach them,
Okay.
okay? And we'll get somewhere.
Asante sana. Joyce, wrap it up for us, very few seconds.
Okay, what I can say is the Gen Z is that we are talented, resilient, and with the right policies and mentorship,
Okay.
we can just thrive, not only survive, but thrive.
Right.
Yeah.
So, asante sana, 15 minutes past the top of the hour. When I director allow me 1 minute to sample this feedback here from Kenyans. Stanley Smew says, Gen Z is a great team, but at times they feel like controlling the world or company, especially normal. Most of the time on phone, what most clients don't like. Reason why it's hard to manage them. Someone here says, Dawood again on flexible working arrangements. CHRP, Ketoto said, is really important in enabling work-life balance. Gen Zs really value their time. Final one here, Christopher, how we deal with employers, as it is believed communication will still be a problem because digital platforms has and will still impact our ability to read emotions effectively, being that it is the first generation which has had an immediate and unfiltered access to social media for most of our lives, with stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues. CDAK should address this. Ladies and gentlemen, oh yes, there's one more here. I feel like employers forgot how to treat employees with due respect. They prefer for employees to feel lucky to have that job and therefore do whatever it takes to keep the job. Times have changed. Gen Zs know their value and what they're bringing to the table. The big question is, how would an employer want to be treated if the tables were turned? I think on that particular note, even that particular question is where we wrap it up tonight. Catherine Smalloy has been on the sign language interpretation. Amused to Stanley Nyarugita, definitely following up. When it started, I told you 2 important things are happening tonight. This conversation and then Europa League final. Tottenham versus Manchester United. We're 1-0 down as Man U, but then we will win this. Ladies and gentlemen, asanteni sana for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, back at home, asanteni sana for following up. This has been your home of untold stories, and we remain that. Have yourself a wonderful Wednesday night.